Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna tell you ahead of time, this one's gonna be a short one. The day is like 2/3 of the way gone, and today has been an adventure. Let's just call it that and leave it at that. So what are we working on? Basically, I've got a 2OT here that's got some stripped out. Somebody had been in there once before and done some maintenance. So I had already opened it up. I've already opened this up once trying to fix this leak around this seal. And basically what's happened is these holes right here where the bolts for this guy, somebody's been in here before. These holes have been just used and abused, and here they've been over torqued so many times that they're just destroyed. So what I'm gonna do instead is I've got this cool little kit called a time cert kit. Now I've already opened this thing up once to measure depth, so on and so forth, bolt holes. I needed some measurements. And time certs are these cool, they're not like these guys. Like, you got a helicoil, that's one thing, right? I'm not a fanboy of helicoils. I know there's people out there who are gonna say, no, helicoils, they're the best thing in the world. Well, we all have our opinions, just like we all got a butthole, so. Facts. What I'm going to use is a thing called time certs, and basically these are a steel inserted sleeve that you install, and it locks itself into it. It's very similar to a helicoil, just 21st century versions of it. That's all. We're also going to use some Permatex orange Loctite on them just to keep them in. I probably should have used, in hindsight, I should probably use red on the actual insert, but I don't have any on hand, so that's what we're gonna use. Also, we're gonna go ahead and replace the vacuum pump seals, because our O2 sensor right underneath of it is covered in oil, and it's the only thing covered in oil, which tells me that the vacuum pump is probably leaking. So we're gonna dive into this, guys, and I'm gonna probably cut this to a montage until I find some really crappy parts that I want to show you guys and things to look out for while you're doing it. But the number one rule when doing this particular job, or taking your pancake valve or your vacuum pump off, and that is going to be torque specs. Torque specs, torque specs, torque specs. Don't over tighten things. Good and snug, not snug plus a quarter, is where we're wanting to be here. These are all really small bolts, like really, really small. Like, guys, these things are M6s, right? M6.10. to be exact, M6 by 1.0 to be exact. The threads that you're threading into are aluminum, which if I'm wrong here, somebody correct me in the comments, blast away, whatever, but I'm 90% confident that the threads are just chased into the hole with the same exact aluminum that they're casted in, because they all rip out so easy. Like, so easy. I've had to put more time certs into Audis, newer Audis, than I've ever done on any other maker model. So I feel like something's sus about it. Anyway, guys, we're gonna dive into this. Let's get this thing done and let's save another Audi. Don't touch the lens. If you are new to the channel and you have not yet, consider subscribing. Tomorrow we're gonna be live from PRI, which is a performance racing industry show. It's like the tech version of SEMA, without all the cars and extraness and hype. This is where builders, fabricators, business owners, entrepreneurs, media guys, all of us to come together to share one thing, and that's the love for the automotive community, and see you from there tomorrow. Let's get into this thing. So a little trick I like to use, Vaseline. Put it on your drill bit. You don't gotta go like insanely crazy here. We're not trying to lube anything. All we're doing with this is you'll watch the chips collect. See how? We're not drilling all the way through the head now either. So what the Vaseline does, guys, is it acts, I don't know how it does this, but it kind of acts like a magnet for the shavings. Also, as far as the depth on these holes, they're all bottom. They don't go completely through to the head, so all the way through the valve cover. So we're only going like, I think it's 6 millimeters down, and the holes are like 9. So when you're doing this, you want to also go slow and make sure you're square to the hole, because essentially you're recutting the bore here. So if you make it crooked, your hole is going to be crooked. Now you want to take your next tool here, which is the next tool you're going to use here is this like beveling thing, and it's basically just going to set it on there, square it up. There we go.
So you don't buy it, you'll say, well, you said you tune it for any mods, and my mod's catalyst, and now you're tuning it, and my light's on, my car will pass inspection. So they're like, I don't think I'm gonna do that though. Okay. I went to 2 events, and I don't want to say they sucked. They were great to drive different tracks and different things, but if I had an issue with my car and I went to...
All right, well, that was kind of like a glorified PETA. It wasn't that bad. From like a sketch level of 1 to 10, it was like a 3. You know, it's just one of those that you got to pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure that you're lined up straight, you know, because if you put them in crooked, you're going to end up with like problems. You're going to end up with problems. You might try to shove a bolt in, then it's not going in, then you cross thread the one that you just fixed. It can rabbit hole real bad. So when you're doing it, this is a patience thing. Bite your tongue on yourself, cuss, whatever you got to do. Just take your time and, you know, call its mama, whatever you think it needs to be called. Just take your time and you'll get it right. It's easy, all right? It's not difficult. Honestly, I think time certs are 10x easier to deal with than a helicoil, but that's my personal opinion. Maybe that's because I just didn't grow up in the helicoil age and I was never taught that helicoils were the most bestest thing in the world. I don't know. I found time certs work really, really well, and they work really well for chain. Like if you have a bolt hole on a chain drive that's really sketch and you're like, what am I gonna do? They work really well for that. And they work really, really well for flywheel bolts. Flywheel, like crank bolts, work really good for that too. But anyway, now that we got this portion done right here, now we got to address that. Now we got to address that vacuum pump back there. So I got to get some more bits off back here so I can get to that. So, let's get into it. Dum 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 dum. No, I'm not interrupting this to ask you to like this video or anything like that, but if you want to do that, by all means, feel free. What I'm doing, so I got the vacuum pump off here, and my buddy Corey bought this RKX Tech vacuum pump rebuild kit. Now, there's something very important about this rebuild kit. This little piece that comes out right here, it's kind of like almost like a rotor in a sense, but when you rebuild this thing, if you happen to take this out, okay, and there are these little clips right here, little things right here on the end. Don't forget to put these back in. For whatever reason, if they fall out or anything like that, you want to make sure those go back in, okay? We're just going to set that off to the side. So the kit comes with everything you're going to need to rebuild it. It comes with an O-ring, a gasket for the backside, and then I do believe these two are for... The one is for the high pressure pump, which goes right there, and then this one I think is for this piece right here. I'd have to double check, but I would be safe to argue I'm like 99% confident that's where it goes. When the vacuum pump starts leaking, guys, it can cause all sorts of havoc on your engine. And it can also be misdiagnosed very easily. So make sure when you diagnose your car that you're not just going on check engine lights alone. I've seen some really weird codes get populated and have bad vacuum pumps. So it's a big rabbit hole. I'm not gonna get into it. Just know when you do it, I would say when you do it, be meticulous. So that's where I'm gonna leave it at. As far as fixing the problem, the vacuum pump kit, I think on RKX, which I do have a promo code, and I'll put the promo code in the description below. We'll probably pop it up right here for you guys. But I believe these kits are like $19.95 or $29.95, something along those lines. I would rate this job a 3. Like, on all the things that can go wrong, it's not a big job. It's not difficult. Take your time. Make sure you have triple squares. Don't be shoving 6 points into triple square slots and vice versa with Torx bits. You're gonna mess things up and you're gonna hate yourself and you're gonna start cussing. When in the reality of it, a 20 or 30 minute drive to your local auto parts store probably saves you a lot of headaches. So that's where I'm gonna leave you with that one. I'm gonna get this thing rebuilt and we're gonna get it back on the car, and hopefully we're not gonna have any more problems. So only time's gonna tell, so let's dive back into it. Don't touch it. For the record, this little bit that's right here, it's in that hole right there. It's a pain in the butt to get out, but it's very doable. All right, well, you guys seen what I basically did there. I used a pair of pliers on it, grabbed it from here, and just light pressure, and then just kept pushing these tabs and walking them up out of those 2 slots there. I can see that getting out of control really easy and somebody snapping that off, so don't do that. Just don't do that. Take this as a warning. This gasket, you can tell, is also flat. It's really worn down. Has no real bevel to it anymore. It's square, basically. Go ahead and replace that one as well. Ooh, that's much nicer. Much nicer. There we go. Shove that back in there. Now, I was afraid of this, to be honest. So, one of the bolt holes that's on the vacuum pump, one of the bolts where it goes into the back of the block, this one right here specifically, we're gonna have to fix it too. Remember I told you earlier, people, about being careful about over tightening and things like that, and these, I'm pretty sure these holes are just like cut into the thread lines inside of them. Well, there's just another justification of that. Those bolts that hold that vacuum pump on, I don't know if it's focusing enough here, but only are 10 Newton meters or 7 foot-pounds. The torque specs are right on RKX Tech's packaging here. So how little force you really got to apply to these things. And 7 foot-pounds, I mean, it probably takes more than 7 foot-pounds to crush the shell on an egg. Matter of fact, I'm kind of curious what it does. I'm gonna Google that. Anyway, guys, yeah, I gotta fix another bolt hole. So I'm gonna dive into it, get it done, and I'm running out of time before I'm supposed to be on the podcast things. So I gotta get this done, and oh, pardon me. I gotta get this done, so yeah, full steam. And it's alive! Alive! Maybe I can find a good meme for that to insert over this. But all right, guys, so we got it back together. So far, so good. Everything seems like it's all right. No fuel's leaking, no immediate oil all over the ground, and it doesn't really sound like it's got a vacuum leak. If you had a problem with the pancake valve, or the seal was bad, or you didn't have it tightened down right, you could have a vacuum leak, which could cause the car to stumble and do some really weird things at idle. But it's not doing any of those, so I'm gonna count this as a win. I learned a big lesson from this upload. One, I feel like this whole upload I kind of felt rushed around and busy, very, very busy. And I don't think, I'll be honest, I kind of feel like I didn't put up didn't film 100% quality upload. And maybe that's just me and I'm in my head, and you know, we all kind of do that thing once in a while. But hey, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about this one? All right, guys, that's the end of this one. I'm going to PRI, I'm going home, going to shoot a podcast, and I'm going to bed. after I pack and load my car and eat dinner. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. I'm outie.